Hello everyone, I hope you're enjoying your online day. Today we're going to work on graphing your data from the lab that we did this week. I have some made up data here, so if your data does not match up with my numbers, don't worry, I made it up completely. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we are going to talk about some of the specifics for graphing the data. We are going to make 3 graphs. We're going to have one with mass versus weight, mass versus distance, and then our third one is going to be bounce number versus bounce height. So to start out, we are going to need to select multiple different columns. So what you're going to do is we're going to use the click and drag method. So we're going to click and drag and select this data, but we don't want to select the scale 2 and weight in this. So we need to hold down Control before we click and drag to select the second area. Now you can see that both sections of our weight and mass are selected, but none of our labels are selected. This is exactly what we want for our graph. We're going to insert our chart, and we'll get our column chart like we did in class. We're going to switch it to our scatter plot. You should have 2 sets of data points. They might be overlapping. If you only see one and both of these are selected, it should be okay. If you put your units in on here, so let me show you what that'll do. So this was 100 grams, and the next one down here was 200 grams. What I want you guys to notice is when I have a label in here, it moved my number to the other side of the box, and they disappeared from my graph. When you have a letter in here with your number, Sheets no longer recognizes that this is a number. It's treating it like a word, and so it's not going to graph it for us. So if all of your numbers are on this side of the square, you're going to need to go through and remove your unit. When you do it, don't just delete. Make sure you come up here so you don't lose your number. This is where you can edit what is in the box. Otherwise, the entire box is going to be deleted. If you do that, don't forget about Control Z. That will undo anything, or you can use these little arrows up here. Once you have this graph made, you are going to label it. Okay, so unlike before, we do actually have meaningful things that our data tells us. So if I can double click on this, we're going to go to Customize. You're going to want to title this something like mass versus weight. Scale number 1 is not the most useful for this. We want mass versus weight. Okay. Now, if we look at this, we can see that based on the numbers down here, our mass is on our horizontal axis. Our mass is our independent variable, so that is exactly where we want it. So we're going to come down here, we're going to call this mass. And the standard is to put your units in parentheses like so. So we have mass, and it is measured in grams. And then we're going to come to our vertical axis title. This is our weight. So we're going to call this weight, and our units are in newtons. So we're going to put the newtons in parentheses there. I want you guys to make sure that you don't forget to add your fit line, and make sure you include your equation. So don't forget the trend line is here, and your label is where you're going to add your equation. All right. We are also going to make a graph for distance versus mass. I'm going to delete this one so it's a little bit clearer. To do that one, we are going to have to hold Control and select this whole area. Hold down Control still. Don't let up on Control. Select your distance. Then come down here, select your mass, and select this distance. When everything is selected, you're going to insert your chart just like before. It should look pretty similar. And don't forget to switch it to scatter plot. Once you have done that, make sure you label your graph, add your fit line, all of that. Don't forget your units. Those are going to be important. So once you're finished with that graph, it should be very, very similar to your mass versus weight graph. We are going to move on to the bounce height one. Now, like I said in class, I organized this so that your data would behave as nicely as possible. No matter what I did, this would not work properly. So we're going to have to do a little bit more involved stuff. So make sure you highlight all of your data here. We're going to insert a chart, and you'll notice that only one set of my data has shown up here. And if we look over here, it is only plotting from 18 to 22. And we want it to go from 18 all the way to 34. So we're going to come over here. We're going to select this little square here, and a menu is going to pop up, and it says select a data range. All we have to change is going to be this number right here. So we want this to be A34. That means this square down here instead of A22. So we're going to add to A34. Now nothing's changed because our A column is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for all of them. But once we come down here, we're going to do the same thing for our B's. So if you click on this, it'll bring up this. We want to hit the squares. We're going to change this to 34 again. And once we do that, we can see that all of our points are now showing up here. The reason why they didn't before, like I said, is because there was just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have this full range of data, and we're plotting all of our points. Now, we are going to treat this just like the other graphs. We should name them. So we want to have height versus bounce, or bounce versus height, either way. Bounce is not going to have units. It's just going to be your bounce number. This is height. It should be in centimeters. That's what you should have measured it in. When you add your trend line, this is something called exponential decay. Exponential decay is an inverse function, so we're going to fit it with a power series. I know this doesn't fit my data very well. Hopefully it will fit yours better. Like I said at the beginning, I just made these numbers up. If you guys have any other questions or are having any other problems, don't hesitate to email me. I will be checking my email far more frequently since it is an online day. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.